Being abruptly broken up with by an avoidant discard, it is one of the most blindsiding and traumatic breakup experiences out there. It is not a normal breakup by any stretch of the imagination. You didn't see it coming. You didn't see it coming at all. It was completely blindsiding. Actually, everything seemed to you like it was going wonderfully. You felt like you had met your person. You finally felt seen. The relationship was progressing well, and it felt like emotional intimacy was building. So you're probably wondering to yourself, what happened? Why did this person abruptly leave me? For many people, understanding what happened to them really helps them heal and process the whole experience. It helps them move on. Understanding is actually, for many, a key part of healing. So there are two main reasons why an avoidant abruptly discards a partner. So let's get into this. The first main reason, and the most common reason why an avoidant will abruptly discard a partner, is that the relationship was going well. It's not that you did everything wrong or anything wrong. It's that you did everything right. The relationship was actually going well. You were treating the avoidant well. You were showing them love. You were showing them respect. You were showing them kindness. You were showing them empathy. You were there for them as a partner, both emotionally and physically. You showed them what love and care looks like, and emotional intimacy was actually growing. You did have a connection with this person. The sparks were real, and that is precisely what scared the avoidant, and that's exactly why they left you, because you were a good partner. The fact is, emotional intimacy was growing, and that is what scares avoidants, especially severe ones, to their core. They fear emotional intimacy. It triggers every bit of anxiety in their bones. This is the result of childhood emotional neglect. They learned at a young age that emotional intimacy leads to abandonment. The people that you're supposed to rely on to be your caretakers, the people that you're supposed to be able to rely on to nurture your emotional needs as a child, were not there. They disappointed the avoidant. They maybe even abandoned them. Maybe a parent or both abandoned them as a child, or there was just emotional neglect in the household. Regardless, the avoidant learned that emotional intimacy leads to abandonment. And they also learned that the only person you can rely on for your own emotional needs is yourself. So the avoidant gets hyper-focused on independence, that they become extremely afraid to lose their independence in a relationship. And they fear losing their independence to a partner that treats them well, just like they fear abandonment by a partner that treats them well. This is because they fear losing independence to somebody who's ultimately going to abandon and reject them. And it is the healthy, the good partner that they fear abandonment by, because this is a person that actually makes the avoidant feel things. The person that actually pulls on the avoidant's heartstrings is the person that triggers their fears. They fear losing control of their emotions. They fear actually developing a deep bond, because in the avoidant's mind, it leads to inevitable heartache. There is a castle wall that they built around their heart, and they keep their partners on the outside. The ones who actually are successfully breaking through that wall are the ones that they actually abruptly end the relationship with and discard. That's because this person has triggered the fears. The person that really actually gets the avoidant to start feeling feelings is the person that gets discarded. And it's not that you did anything wrong at all. It's actually that you were a good partner, and that's what triggered the avoidant's fears. Their primary fears are the fears of abandonment, the fears of rejection, the fears of engulfment, which is the fear of losing the independence. A person that's not all that special, well, that fear doesn't really exist. If the avoidant didn't have any feelings for you, they probably would have stuck around a lot longer. They probably wouldn't have discarded you, because they wouldn't be feeling things for you. You would be someone that's not all that special, and they don't fear abandonment by someone that's not all that special, especially someone who's more on the toxic side. Toxic partners are emotionally unavailable themselves. So there's no pressure for the avoidant to be available or vulnerable in return for the toxic partner. So the toxic partner feels safe, Or at the very least, another emotionally unavailable partner feels safe, and that relationship can actually last a long time. It's not that the avoidant is happy with this person. It's just that the avoidant feels safe with this person. With you, yes, you give them the butterflies. You make them feel things. That scares them. The fact that you do make them feel things, keep that in mind. So stop blaming yourself. If everything was going wonderfully, you just met the family, you just won a wonderful vacation or holiday together, and then abruptly blindsided and given very vague excuses. Understand, it's not that you did something wrong in these instances. It's that you did everything right. It's that you showed this person love. You showed them a healthy relationship, which is exactly what triggered the fears. So stop blaming yourself under these circumstances. Now, let's get to the second reason why avoidants will abruptly break up with their partners. The second reason is that they don't communicate their needs. There may be a need or a want that the avoidant has that they're not communicating to you. This comes from their fear of rejection. As a child, their feelings were routinely dismissed, so they learned to bottle up their emotions and to not express them. They learned to avoid things. That's why they're called avoidants. Avoiding love, avoiding communication, avoiding feelings. So they bottle up their emotions, they don't process them, and if you're doing something that they don't like, or if there's a need that's not being met, they're just not going to tell you. The problem is, this leads to resentment over time. Resentment builds, and resentment builds, and then out of nowhere, they abruptly discard you, blindside you, and you actually think everything's going well. This is because the avoidant never communicated the issues with you. Ultimately, regardless of which scenario it is, it comes down to a lack of communication. Because in either scenario, if the avoidant wanted to, if they were willing to, they could actually communicate to their partner their fears, their issues, and work through it together. It's all fear-based. That's what drives avoidant behavior. It's all fear-based. So really at the end of the day, if you got discarded, blindsided by an avoidant, given vague excuses, because again, they don't process emotions, so they're not going to give you a coherent excuse when they're not reflecting on their feelings. It's not that you did anything wrong, and beating yourself up is only going to prolong your pain. Understand, it comes from this person's childhood attachment wounds. It almost always stems from stuff that happened long before you ever entered their life. So don't blame yourself for that. If you blame yourself for that, you're self-deprecating. You're pushing yourself into insecurity. You're trying to control the uncontrollable, and you're definitely delaying your healing process. But understanding, the odds are one of these two reasons is the reason why your avoidant ex discarded you. Neither of them are your fault. You didn't make them not communicate, and you didn't cause their attachment wounds. You didn't cause them to fear love. You're not to blame for any of it. Understand, it's the reflection of a person who is not healed. They have unhealed attachment wounds, and it's also a reflection of their choices and character too, because when they discarded you, they were only thinking of themselves. They were only thinking of their perceived wants, feelings, and needs in the moment. They weren't considering you, and they certainly weren't considering the impact that it was going to have on you. It was all about them. They were completely wrapped up in self, and that's unfortunately what severe insecurity can do to somebody. It can cause them to become hyper self-focused. It's a very painful experience because it is so blindsiding. It gives you no closure, but you have to give your own closure. And part of that closure comes from understanding what happened.